Okay, so you're not supposed to.
Good morning. How are you today? Great to be together on this Tuesday, November, what are we? November 3rd? Yeah, November 3rd. Great to have you joining me this morning, and hope you're ready for the day. Nothing like a good cup of coffee to get you going. And this morning we're going to continue on in our series in the book of Ephesians, and I'll just put it here so you have it. Ephesians 6, 5 to 8. That's what we'll be looking at this morning. And then next week we'll be continuing on with verse 9. Good morning to everybody. Good morning, Rosario, Jennifer, Shelley, and others who are joining us. Nice to have you with me this morning. And as I was mentioning today, I want to talk about work, our jobs from an employee point of view, and then next week from an employer point of view. It's just interesting that we're following along in Ephesians, and we're in chapter 6. And I'll read to you a few verses from there, if you will. It says in Ephesians 6 and verse 5, "Slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear, and with sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. Obey them not only to win their favor when their eye is on you, but like slaves to Christ, doing the will of God from your heart. Serve wholeheartedly, as if you were serving the Lord, not men, because you know that the Lord will reward everyone for whatever good he does, whether he's a slave or free." Work, work, work. Off to work we go. Work defines us. I mean, work, we spend so many hours working, trying to make money and trying to provide for ourselves. Sometimes we enjoy our work. Sometimes we find it tiring and frustrating to work. Depends who you're working with. You're working with somebody who's a good boss, or maybe you are the person in charge and your employees are not always, as faithful and hardworking as you'd like them to be. But work is in the very core of our being. I think back in the very beginning in Genesis 2 and verse 15, where God put Adam and Eve in the garden, and it says, "The Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it." Right from the beginning, work was part of what we would, how we would be identified. And when we talk about work this morning, we're talking about the ability to perform certain duties. Even God himself worked. I mean, like it says that he worked and on the seventh day he rested. So, and then in Philippians 2 and verse 13, it says, God is at work in us, and we're to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. This idea of work is very prevalent in the Bible. And here we're reading these words about verse 5. It says, "Slaves, obey your earthly masters." Now, obviously, slaves, bondservants in those days that was just the case in the Roman Empire. Over 50% of the population of the Roman Empire were slaves in the time that this was written. So some estimate there's about 60 million slaves in Rome. And so now a lot of these slaves who became Christians were asking the question, like, how should we treat our masters? I mean, we're Christians now. I mean, what is the right attitude towards but I think some of the attitudes here could be related to us today for employers and employees. And that's why I'm talking about it. So it says here, "Slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear, with sincerity of heart." to be obedient to our masters, according, and to our bosses. Obedience is, I was reading something about excuses that people give for not performing, not being good employees. There was top 10 I found. I didn't realize it was such an important matter. These are excuses for not to work properly. It slipped my mind. I thought you were going to check back with me. The problem didn't fit in with my job description. I didn't know what the deadline was on this matter. I thought we should wait to ask the boss about the details in this matter. I was afraid of doing the wrong thing. We never did it this way before. It seems like a lot of work for me. I was trying to figure out an easy way to do it. I couldn't find the equipment and supplies to get the job done. Common excuses in the workplace today. But Paul, he says to us, obey, obey. True obedience doesn't give excuses. One who is obedient does the work that needs to be done quickly, efficiently. They can be trusted when nobody's watching them. I think of Joseph in the Old Testament, of course, faithful servant. And no matter what he was doing, he was faithful. He worked hard, and because of it, he got promotions. And he was a slave in Potiphar's house, but he worked hard and was faithful and honest. And even when Potiphar's wife tried to seduce him, it says that he continued to walk with integrity. And Joseph is an excellent example of what it means to do our jobs. And so it talks about here that obedience, obey your earthly masters or your employers with respect and fear. Obedience should be with respect and fear. Well, I think again that has to do with a question of the heart, that we're working not just for our bosses or for a company, that we're working for the Lord. It says, with respect and fear, with sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. When I was back many years ago, going to college and working in summertime, I remember I had one summer job as a student that required for me to clean a paper mill. And paper mill, of course, a lot of sawdust, a lot of dirt, a lot of stuff. And well, for the summer, they wanted me firstly to go on the roof and to get a big broom and to try to get rid of all the sawdust between the tar and the crushed rock up there, because they thought it was a fire hazard. So, once a year, somebody had to go up there and push this metal broom around and try to get rid of the sawdust that would be caked inside the crushed rock and tar. It was a big roof, huge roof. And so they sent me up there with my gloves and my construction boots and working up there. It took me 2 weeks to do the whole roof. It was a huge roof. And I was all by myself working and working and working and working. Well, when I finished the roof, they said, "You're hired." You see, it was a test to see how I would work and whether they would hire me or not. I didn't know that. They just said, "Do the roof and we'll see if we have any work left for you afterwards." Well, I got the job because I did the roof. I remember afterwards I was working there and I was trying to push the broom around. I became a specialist in cleaning up. That's why my wife loves me so much. And I was pushing the broom around, and sometimes the other workers there would say to me, "Ron, stop working so hard. You're making us look bad. Slow down. Like we all work at the same speed. You can't go that fast." And then I used to be with some other so anyhow, but I was doing it as unto the Lord. I figured if I'm going to do a good job, I'm not here just to please my boss. I'm not just here to get money. I'm here to do work that I'm proud of. And so, I kept doing it. And I'd go into corners that nobody would go into areas that people would never clean, that had never been cleaned in years. And I would just jump into it because I had nothing to do. Sometimes I'd finish my work early and I'd say, what am I going to do with myself? But I refused to be idle. So I dove into a corner somewhere or into a room that never had been cleaned before. And I said, this is for you, Lord, I'm doing it. And I clean up the room and everybody would go, what? This room is clean. What happened to it? And my reputation started to grow in the company as being a very good cleaner. Anyhow, we're doing it with respect and with fear, with sincerity of heart, not just outward behavior, sincerity of heart. God looks to the heart. And when we do it unto him, we do it with our heart, not just with our muscle or just because we're trying to fill in the hours that we're getting paid for. It's with sincerity of heart. It goes on to say, as you would obey Christ. It says, obey them not only to win their favor when their eye is on you, but like slaves of Christ, like servants of Christ. We're bond servants. We're servants of love for Christ. We do it out of love for God, not just out of duty for men. And whether it be you're cleaning bathrooms or food preparation, or you're teaching children, or you're a doctor or an engineer, or you're in retail or sales or whatever it is, all jobs are important. And the number one goal in work is to become a fruitful minister and servant of the Lord. Work is given to us because it says if you don't work, you're not going to eat. And the Bible is pretty clear on that working is really part of our stay here on earth as we prepare to go to heaven, not with eye service, but not to please men just, but to please the Lord. And then it goes on to say here in verse 8, these words, serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not men, because you know that the Lord will reward everyone for whatever good he does, whether he's a slave or free. So again, the motivation for working hard is one, to please the Lord, but he says he rewards everyone for whatever good he does. There are earthly rewards to working hard. People will notice when you do things that go above and beyond. When you see a need to be done and you do it in your job and you don't even are not asked to do it. I mean, when I worked in one summer job, I remember for my father's company, he worked for a company called Cadbury's, it's chocolates, you know? And I was in the office area and I would have to do the payroll, adding up all the hours of all the people and putting it together, and so that they could issue the checks. And well, I'd finish that like 2 or 3 days. The person who came after me could not do it in a week, and I would do it in 2 or 3 days. But then I kept walking into the boss's office and saying, "You got something more for me to do? I'm finished." And so they kept giving me more and more stuff. And when I left there, they really had trouble trying to fill the position. Not that I'm the best of workers, but the one after me maybe was a little slower. But at any rate, the idea again is to look for things, to take pride in what you are doing, knowing that whatever good anyone does, there'll be a reward from the Lord, an earthly reward, and I believe even a heavenly reward, an eternal reward. Not all of our reward is here in this world, and maybe we don't always get the reward that we deserve in the work that we do. But it doesn't matter, because we're doing it for the Lord, and that in itself should be satisfaction in our lives. And so it says, verse 8, because you know the Lord will reward everyone for whatever good he does. So all I can say this morning is work faithfully, obey your boss with sincerity and respect, and sincerity of heart. You're working as unto the Lord. This is part of our makeup as human beings and as Christians. We have every right to enjoy what we're doing. And maybe it's not always our dream job, but listen, when you get to heaven, God will give you because of your faithfulness, the perfect job that you'll enjoy, because we're going to be working when we get to heaven, I believe. We're going to be busy about doing things and challenges. And right now, our attitude is just that preparation for the great things that God has for us to work at as we move forward. So I just pray that you'll be blessed in your work, and you'll encourage others who are working, and be fruitful and multiply in whatever that you put your hand to. Do it with all your strength, and God is going to reward you because of it. Hey, it's great to be here with you today. I think a lot of you understand what I'm talking about when you've been working, and you've left a good testimony behind because of the great job that you've done. And let's continue to do it as unto the Lord. So have a great day. Lord bless you. I look forward to seeing you next week. I'm going to talk about the employer's point of view and how they should treat their employees. So this should be an interesting opportunity to recognize what is a good employer. God be with you. Have a great day. Rejoice in the Lord and enjoy the work of your hands. Bye now.